And my mother answers the phone. She says, hello. And she hears a voice, hello, is Paul there? And she says, who's calling? This is Michael. She's like, Michael who? Michael Jackson. And she said, boy, quit playing on my phone. And she hung up. Hey, this is Paul Jackson Jr., and you are watching Musicians Reveal with none other than Joe Kelley.
We're in for a real treat this afternoon here on Musicians Reveal, one of the most talented and most recorded guitarists, musicians on the planet. Still going strong. He's been on our show before, and we're happy to welcome him back, Mr. Paul Jackson Jr. How you doing, Paul?
Joe, I'm good. I'm very, very good. Blessed in the Lord and highly favored, and still, like I said, strumming the guitar. So I'm ahead of the curve.
So the last time we talked, it's been a while, Laid Back, one of your standout solo records. In between that, you released Stompin Willie, a couple Stompin Willies, yeah. Tell us a little bit about those two records.
Well, Stories from Stompin Willie was done as a tribute to my buddy, the late, great George Duke. And he's the one that gave me the name Stompin Willie. Mm-hmm. So I said, let me do something for George. So I re-recorded a couple of his songs. I re-recorded a song that he did called Geneva. Re-recorded a song that he did called That's What She Said. And then it featured Patrice Rushen and Byron Miller and the late, great Ndugu Chancler. And then we wrote a song called De Willie Gonga. Now, De Willie Gonga, for the insiders, was one of George's pseudonyms. When he would work on other people's records, he wouldn't call himself George Duke. He would call himself De Willie Gonga. So we wrote a song called De Willie Gonga.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a great backstory.
Yeah. So he gave me the nickname Stompin Willie. So this was Stories from Stompin Willie. And then subsequently I released an EP called More Stories, which is available now. So been busy doing that kind of stuff. And obviously recording with the group with Jeff Lorber and Everett Harp, Jazz Funk Soul.
Right.
And we just have a new single, actually the title track from the new CD called Sympatico, that's entering the top 10 in Billboard next week. So like I said, it's fortunately still busy and still doing things. So
and you got some gigs. I was looking earlier out your way in California. And then you're coming to North Carolina doing a gig.
Yeah, we're coming to a Middle Sea Jazz Festival. We're doing the Gardena Jazz Festival this Sunday in Gardena, California, suburb of Los Angeles. And then, like I said, we're headed out to North Carolina to play the Middle Sea Jazz Club. So fortunately, bopping around doing some stuff. So I'm encouraged. Yeah,
all the viewers and listeners, we encourage you to go to pauljacksonjr.net. And we'll talk about some of the projects he's involved that you can see right up on the website as well. Before we get off George Duke, I had George Duke on the show one time, and I still to this day don't know how I connected with him. But our mutual friend Jeff Lee Johnson had just passed away.
Yeah.
And George came on the show. Pleasant. The guy couldn't have been nicer on the phone. We did the interview, and he passed a few months after that.
Yeah, George passed, like you said, shortly after Jeff did, so that was kind of a double tragedy, double challenge, for us. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff was, he came to our studio in Connecticut, WVOF, and played on my show for like 4 hours, a trio, twice.
Oh, wow.
Twice.
Wow.
And then he called me up one time. He did a gig in New York and wanted to thank me for coming to the studio, and then said, I think I'm going to retire. So, yeah, you probably heard. Yeah. Did you ever record with Jeff?
Not with him on the same projects, but never in the studio with him, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you record it at George Duke, that home studio I saw? I saw he had just built it.
Recorded there a lot. In fact, that's pretty much, except for a few occasions, that's where I did all my recording with George at his house, home studio. Yeah.
Well, we alluded to you being one of the most recorded guitarists, your own projects, and studio work with hit upon hit. It's dizzying if you ever want to read Paul Jackson Jr.'s studio credits, because I could get through maybe to the H's and I got to take a break. So you work with so many. Getting back to when you started out playing guitar, what was that initial break to get that paying gig and in the studio?
Well, the initial break was actually threefold. A couple things happened. I lived down the street from Patrice, and my mother told me to go talk to her about my music career. And so she began to mentor me and, told me where to go, to school and things to work on. So when I graduated from high school, I joined her band. At the same time, I was going to started at the University of Southern California, where Lee Ritenour was a teacher, and Patrice had introduced me to Lee. And I started corresponding with Lee and working with Lee. And so when Lee saw that I was, doing okay and kind of had a concept of what was going on studio-wise, Lee started sending me on sessions because he was focusing on his solo career. At the same time, I found the Lord and started going to a church called Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church. One of the key members was a guy by the name of Ollie Brown, drummer, percussionist, producer, who was best friends with none other than Ray Parker Jr. So I met Ray, and then same thing happened with Ray. Ray was focusing on his group radio. So he said, I really am not doing as many sessions. So he started sending me on sessions. So it was Patrice, and it was Lee, and it was Ray. Actually, one more thing happened. Met a guy who at that time was one of the #1 record producers in the world, who ended up being my pastor. That's a story for another day. By the name of Frank Wilson. If you Google him, he wrote "You Make Me So Very Happy." He produced "Keep on Truckin'" and "Son of Sagittarius" and record after record. And so he started using me on demos when I was still in high school. So when I graduated, he said, "Yeah, I think you're ready for the big leagues," and he started using me on records. So it was those kind of things that collided at the same time.
And I think it's really encouraging and really great to see that you mentioned some of your friends for decades. You're still close as ever and still helping each other out on records. And hey, my guitarist isn't going to be there. I see you on stage with Patrice every now and then. So you got a nice crew.
Yeah. So, I've been blessed to have some longtime friends. My old pastor used to say, always make new friends, but never forget your old ones. So
wise man.
Yeah.
I heard a story you were telling me. I can't get this out of my head about Michael Jackson calling your mom's house.
Yes.
For studio work. And fill us in on that story, because, people would love to hear that one.
So I was, I was pretty young. I think I was 18, 19 at the time. So I was still, living at my mom and dad's house. So my mom would handle my calls. This is before answering services and cell phones, and show you how old I am, before cell phones and pagers and all that stuff we had. So it was before all of that. And there was this thing on the wall. It was called a home telephone. And it had a
with a cord.
Right, and it had a dial on it. So
right.
So I was at home, and the phone rings, and my mother answers the phone. She says, "Hello," and she hears a voice. "Hello, is Paul there?" And she says, "Who's calling?" "This is Michael." She's like, "Michael who?" "Michael Jackson." And she said, "Boy, quit playing on my phone." And she hung up.
How'd you get a hold of him?
I said, "Mom, who was that?" I said, "Somebody pretended to be Michael Jackson." I said, "Mom, that probably was Michael Jackson." "Oh, okay." So fortunately, he called back.
Yeah, and the illustrious history you had with him. Yeah. What was the first session you had with Michael or the Jacksons and/or?
The first thing I did with the Jacksons was a record called Destiny, produced by Bobby Colomby from Blood, Sweat, and Tears fame, and he was producing records, doing A&R. So that was the first thing I did with the Jacksons. And then at the same time, well, actually a few months later, I started writing and working with Jermaine, recording records with him. So all this stuff kind of started happening at the same time around 79, 80.
Yeah, growing up, I'm tons of records. I was a DJ spinning at parties, record club. I'd read those liner notes. Your name was there on a lot of those great records, and I always wondering, who's Paul Jackson Jr.? Who's Greg Fillingates? Yeah, right. they're everywhere. Yeah. So the Jacksons, you didn't do the Triumph tour.
Did not do the tour, did do the album.
Okay, yeah. Any reason why they switched Heartbreak Hotel? I've seen different titles now.
Well, because of the, what's the guy's name? Elvis Presley song, Heartbreak Hotel. Michael decided to change it to This Place Hotel.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Because the chorus of the song is "This place is Heartbreak Hotel, this place." So they changed it to This Place Hotel.
Well, one of the best things that I've seen you do is for musicians, especially and fans, is get right in the nitty gritty on the guitar parts that you contribute to these massive hits. Vertex Effects, that people look that up. I'm going to give a push for them because you do a great session in the studio and showing all those songs. And Lady in My Life, I got to thank you for that guitar part, because we used to dance the slow dance at the discos, I think in 83.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
actually, you should probably thank Rod Temperton for that part, because he sang it to
okay.
me. He said, I want you to play
okay.
this line. And I played it in octaves, with my thumb, a la Wes Montgomery. So the approach was mine, but the line was all his. And it's interesting you'd bring up instruction. I have an app on the Udemy platform called Paul Jackson Jr.'s This Is How I Did It. And the first unit, the first set of lessons, is the Michael Jackson unit. And so I go into detail on This Place Hotel, on P.Y.T. And P.Y.T. is the song that people ask me to break down more than any other one. So This Place Hotel, P.Y.T., Another Part of Me, and then Dirty Diana. So they asked me to go. So those four. And then later this year, I'll probably put up one more song. Probably it will be Love Never Felt Like This, the duet that he did posthumously with Justin Timberlake.
Okay.
So
And
that's
they
on
can
the
go to
Udemy.
Paul Jackson Jr.
PaulJacksonJr.net and
Right.
or to my Instagram page and click on the link and it'll take them right there.
We won't have you show all your cards on the making of those records, but I was curious. Beat it. So many different guitarists. A lot of people just thought Eddie Van Halen was on the record, but how many guitarists exactly were on that song?
3. Myself, the great Steve Lukather, and then Eddie Van Halen. Now, here's the funny story. Most of the guitars you hear are Steve Lukather.
Okay.
I played the bass line in the verse and the chorus, doubled that. And there are a couple of other lines. There's a chorus line, like an intro line. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's Steve Lukather. And then in the verse, the second half of the verse, there's a part that comes in. That also is Steve Lukather. So
Okay.
Steve actually did most of the guitars on there. I did some, and then Eddie Van Halen just did the solo. I shouldn't say just did the solo. It was an amazing solo. So
Yeah. You worked, of course, with Quincy Jones in the studio. All-star team of musicians: John Robinson, Greg Fillinganes, Jerry Hay. You got
yeah.
and Paul Jackson Jr. So that time when you're creating those songs, you must have had the inkling this was going to zoom off, right? The record.
Well, here's the cool thing: is Off the Wall had come out, had been released. A couple of years before, and I think it sold like 8 million records, something astronomical for that time. So you knew in your heart of hearts that Thriller was going to do at least as well. I mean, nobody thought 40, 50 million records, but they figured, it's going to do at least as well. So that's exciting. You go in the studio knowing that the project you're working on is going to be a hit. And so that was a lot of fun. That was, really, really a blessing. You go in and it's like, okay, I know this is going to be a hit. I just don't know how big.
Did you, in preparation for that, get some of the rough tracks before you went in the studio, or was it just improvised when you got there?
Just improvised when I got there.
Okay. What did you learn? I'm sure you learned a lot from Quincy Jones in the studio as a producer that maybe you carry into your own work producing yourself and other artists.
Well, the biggest thing with Quincy is I can relate it to the report cards you get in kindergarten. Which, your first report card, it goes home to your parents, says, plays well with others.
Okay.
And what Quincy would do is he would put people in a room and give them the song and give them the arrangement and see what they come up with, see how they play well. And then he would do what a great kindergarten teacher would do, is steer the direction that it's going to go.
Okay.
And obviously put suggestions. Maybe don't do this here, do this there. Maybe don't do this as much, maybe do this. But the first thing he does is like, okay, let's see how well you guys play with others. And I noticed that about Quincy. It's like, you don't start and say, okay, you're going to play this, you're going to play that. It's like, well, let's see what you come up with.
So back then, I mean, I got into radio in 82, so it was roughly around that era. Was it razor blade and tape to get things
Razor
assembled?
blade and tape, yep. What do they call it? Editing block, where you cut it on the angle.
Yeah,
and use
yes.
little
It
blue
was like
tape
an
to stick-
angle.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yep.
The grease pencil with the white thing?
Yeah, the grease pencil with the, yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And the tape leaders and all that, yep.
Well, I wasn't on million selling records, but just to get a public service announcer or a commercial out, we had to do the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a lot easier now, right?
Oh, gee, now it's copy and paste.
Yeah. So do you do most of the recordings right in your home?
I try to, not because I'm antisocial,
Okay.
And then I invite producers to come over. But I have a litany of guitars here.
Okay.
And effects. And so as opposed to, having to have all my equipment brought, all the good stuff is here. So I can just pull a guitar off the wall or pull several guitars, and I have different things like my Dobro's here, my lap steel is here, so different things are here. So that are just, convenient for me to use. So a lot of things I do here at the house.
Well, what's the guitar count up to?
Probably, in looking at what I have here, I would have to say it's about somewhere between 30 and 40.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. I wasn't the type of person, I would never buy a guitar that I wasn't going to play.
Okay.
And then, I also started kind of, giving guitars away, and I sold a few, but started giving them away because, you can only play so many. And, I believe that, you want to be a blessing to get a blessing. You want to be a blessing to others. So try to do that as much as I can. So yeah, we're probably about 40 at this point.
I always had a question about, obviously you were so dedicated growing up. I've heard you talk about before woodshedding and playing for up to 10 hours a day consistently, a la John Coltrane or something like that. But is that the key to have that much success that you've had, to really invest that time?
Well, the saying goes that success happens when preparation and opportunity meet. And so your responsibility is to stay prepared, get prepared, stay prepared. And what God does is he will give you the opportunities and open the doors. And so what happens is when that happens, you want to be ready to walk through them. And preparation is not a one-time or finite process. It's a continual process where you're constantly learning things, constantly working on things, constantly practicing. There's always something new to learn. For instance, and you brought it up earlier, when I started recording, we had tape and editing blocks and splices. Okay, now we have copying and pasting and a litany of digital recording platforms, digital audio workstations. And so I don't want to be stuck in the past. I need to learn how this stuff works, and what you can do with it, And so it used to be if we wanted to, for instance, change the tempo of a song, you speed up the tape, which would also speed up raise the pitch, and then you could run it through a thing called a harmonizer to bring it back down. And there would be artifacts. And now if you want to do that, you just hit a button and you speed it up or slow it down at the same pitch. So, I think keeping your mind open to learning new things and trying new things is essential.
You've worked with, on tour, some of the heavyweights, Luther Vandross and Whitney Houston. What were let's go with Luther on tour. How'd you get the gig with Luther to play guitar on the gig?
Actually, I never worked with Luther on tour.
Oh, you didn't on tour? Okay.
Only recording. Yeah. Lots of recording with him. I did, however, sub for his guitarist once. He had a residency at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And his guitar player couldn't make a couple of dates, so I went in and played that. But, oh gosh, I don't remember how. Oh, yes, I do. First time I worked with him was, and I want to say about 1986, 87, where we recorded So Amazing and Stop to Love and songs like that. And I got the call from Marcus Miller. And so after that, I just continued to work with him, actually almost right up until the time he passed away.
And you still incorporate, never too much, you do a great version in your set when you perform live.
Yeah. I love that song, and it was fun playing it. And in Vegas, that was the only time I actually got to play it with him. So that was a lot of fun.
And Whitney Houston, you did a couple tours with Whitney, right?
I worked with Whitney on the road from 95 until 2000. Yes.
Okay. And was her brother musical director then?
No, her brother was not. Actually, at the time, it was a gentleman by the name of Ricky Minor, who I still work with a lot. Yeah, right. Ricky, great musical director, great bass player. And at that time, Ricky, he called me to come in and join the band.
I've got not an off the wall, but a lesser known song that you played on, one of my all-time favorite, Finis Henderson, Skip to My Lou.
Wow. Finis Henderson. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You played on that, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yep, I sure did. Absolutely.
He's another Vegas guy, I think.
Oh, yeah, I think you're correct. Yeah, I think you're right.
If you ever get a chance, you should type, and maybe you've seen it, there's a Japanese band who's playing that song at at some club in Japan. And the guitarist is probably the best one in the band, and you may be able to. You get a kick out of seeing him play.
Yeah, I'd like to check it out.
Yeah. So that was a great record. What's it like recording with George Benson and yourself, two amazing guitarists? How do you get things going and working off each other?
Whenever you're working with another guitarist, you want to listen to what they're doing range-wise and sonically and harmonically. And what you want to do is you want to accentuate it, not get in the way. I think somebody who did that better than anyone else was Phil Upchurch.
Okay.
Who understood how to accentuate what George was doing. And so when you're in the studio with somebody like George Benson or Dean Parks or Isaiah Sharkey or anyone, you want to listen to what they're doing and you want to compliment what they're doing and also you have discussions. I remember Dean Parks and I were doing the Oscars, the Academy Awards. And so we're sitting there, and so we're listening to each other and listening to what each other is doing and the things that were not written, where we had to make up parts. We're communicating and going back and forth as to what we should be doing. Funny story, we recorded on the Steely Dan record, Two Against Nature. Mm-hmm. And there's a song called Negative Girl where we play together. And the entire vamp is kind of like dueling guitars between myself and Dean. And it was a lot of fun listening to what Dean did and trying to accentuate what he did. And it's funny because I was listening to the record a couple months ago and I was like, how did he do that? And I don't remember him doing what he did. And right. I'm listening. It's like, man, I'm glad I don't remember what he did because I think I would have stopped playing in sheer amazement. I mean, it was amazing what he did in the vamp of that song.
Any gigs or, that you in the studio that you missed out because you were contracted with somebody else or on tour or something like that, you kick yourself saying, could have been on that record?
Yes. Bonnie Raitt's Nick of Time.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I got the call and I think I was doing another session, so I couldn't make it. And that was Bonnie Raitt's Nick of Time, I Can't Make You Love Me, and all that. Yeah, that record. So that's one. I don't regret it, but that would have been fun. And I did work with her, which was great, but that one would have been fun.
Do you play the slide yourself?
I do.
Oh, okay. Let's go back to some of those hits that you made with Quincy Jones, Patti Austin, and James Ingram. And James Ingram, rest in peace. Just a great artist. Specific memories in the studio with them. Can you tell some of those?
I can tell you a really good one on the song "How Do You Keep the Music Playing."
Oh yeah, great one.
That was Nathan East on bass. David Foster played keyboards. I played guitar, and Ndugu Chancler played drums. And the thing I remember about that session, we cut it at the studio called Westlake Recording Studio. It's in West Hollywood. And the thing I remember was going into the bridge, the second bridge. Ndugu does a drum fill. And if you listen to the record carefully, you'll be able to hear it. So the drum fill is bop, doot, doom, bugadaku doom. And he crashed, but after he crashed, he stood up and choked the cymbal.
Oh, okay.
And sat down and did not miss the backbeat. And I was floored. It's like, bat, doot, doom, bugadaku doom. Crashed, bat, doot, doot. And I was like, how in the world did he do that? It was a recording session. So I remember that was a lot of fun. That the fact that he did that just was amazing to me.
Let's go back to American. I think the last time we spoke, you were still doing American Idol, and,
yes.
and you had told me that they don't give us much lead time to know what we're going to play, right?
Right.
Yeah. Were you there the night Prince came out and played?
I was not there that day, no.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when was the last year for American Idol for yourself, roughly?
Oh, gosh. The last year we did American Idol was 2016, I think. 2015, 2016, around in there was the last year we actually did it. Yeah.
Do you?
We did 9 seasons, so that was a good run. Yeah.
You have a favorite? I mean, without excluding, maybe you give a couple favorites that you were involved with some of the singers.
Well, let's see. There was one episode where we're doing Reeling in the Years, and I got a chance to be featured on that, where we're playing the song, and then the curtain opens, and there I am playing the solo on stage. That was fun. Another memory I had is not so good. We were playing I think it was an Aerosmith song.
Okay.
And I had different guitars that had different tunings. And I grabbed the wrong guitar. So Wayne Lindsey's playing the intro, Wayne Lindsey and Dave DeLone were playing the keyboard intro, and the singer's singing, and Teddy Campbell does the drum fill, do, 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 do. And I come in with this big power sound, a half step too low. So I was like,
okay.
The pictures there is like, and Wayne is looking like, uh-oh, am I in the wrong key? And then I realized it's like, oh, I grabbed the wrong guitar, and we're going live. So I quickly put that guitar down and picked up the right one and started playing.
The good thing is probably most of the audience couldn't pick up on that, hopefully.
It happened so fast. It was, I don't think anybody caught it.
Right.
Yeah.
We got a lot of Minneapolis fans. Of course, I'm a Minneapolis fan as well. And you've worked with a few people out there. Sue Ann Carwell.
Yes.
Yeah. Very underrated singer.
Oh, she's phenomenal. And her brother, Carl.
Yeah.
Great singers. Done a lot of work with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So gotten to work with a few folks. Paul Peterson I've worked with.
Yeah, Paul's great.
So a few folks.
Yeah. And Rhonda Smith. I saw you out in Japan, the interview you did with Rhonda. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ray Montero. He's played on your records. Yeah.
Yes.
He played with Prince a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Great trumpet player from Long Beach. Yeah,
right.
Great trumpet player.
Did you ever jam with Prince?
I didn't, actually. I met up at the studio once. We were both recording at Larrabee in West Hollywood, and he was there, and we got a chance to talk, but I never got a chance to play with him.
What was that, like the beginning of his career or mid-career?
Oh, no, he was well established at that point.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, for the current listeners out there, Daft Punk, one of the big projects that you got involved. How did you get in with them?
Just got a call one day from their assistant to come down to the studio and record with them, and I spent a few weeks recording with them. And the end result was the work on Random Access Memories.
Right.
And actually, the song "Give Life Back to Music," they actually made me one of the writers on the song, which was a blessing. And I tell people one of the things that I really feel good about is that I played on the #1 record in the world twice, 35 years apart.
Wow.
The first one being Michael Jackson's Thriller, and the second one being Daft Punk by Random Access Memories by Daft Punk. So that was kind of cool. Another cool thing that happened is I went back in the studio with the guys and recording different tracks and didn't hear anything. And so one day I'm driving home. I think I was driving. Excuse me. Sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So one day I'm driving home, and I remember I was in Culver City, and I'm listening to the radio, and I hear this song come on by The Weeknd called I Feel It Coming. I said, oh, man, this song's kind of cool. I'm listening to the guitar parts. I said, oh, that sounds pretty good. I said, wait a minute. That's me. So what had happened was one of the songs that we recorded during the second set of sessions ended up being their collaboration with The Weeknd on the song I Feel It Coming. So that was cool.
How often does that happen, that maybe a lick that was in the studio recorded winds up on something? And
It happens more now because of sampling, but that was actually a recording, so that is kind of rare.
So Nile Rodgers, did you get a chance to do a bunch of stuff with him on that project?
Not in the studio, but I worked with him live, so we played a couple of times live and stuff. So, but I didn't get a chance. I haven't got a chance to work with him in the studio.
Yeah, when we were from Connecticut originally, and he was living in the town right next to where we had the studio. So he was never came to the studio, but he was in between New York and Connecticut all the time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So we've got a great super group, Jazz Funk Soul. You're working with another guy who could be up there for keyboardist, most recorded, Jeff Lorber, right?
Oh yeah.
He's everywhere. And Everett Harp on saxophone. How did you conceive this with the two other gentlemen to put the band together?
Well, actually, I didn't. It's kind of a bittersweet story. They had the group together with a great guitarist by the name of Chuck Loeb.
Yeah.
And Chuck is funny because he was in Jazz Funk Soul at the same time he was in Foreplay.
Right. Foreplay. Yeah, that's a great one.
So what would happen is, if they're doing some work outside. So if Foreplay had a gig and Jazz Funk Soul was going to work, I would go and sub for him with Jazz Funk Soul. And then subsequently he became ill, and so sometimes he'd feel like playing and sometimes he didn't. And if he didn't feel like playing, I would go once again fill in for him with Jazz Funk Soul. He passed away, and the guys waited about a year, and they said, Chuck would want us to continue this. And they said, Paul, would you be interested in doing it? I said, well, I would feel good about doing it. And so, I feel okay about doing it. And so we ventured on. So I've done 3 albums with them. And
you're going to Europe, I think, later this year?
I'm going to Europe by myself, actually. I'm going to Austria to play a Paul Jackson Jr. Gig, yes.
Oh, okay. That's not, who's in your own band?
Actually, I'm using a band from there, but I'm taking a great bass player by the name of Courtney Leonard.
Okay.
With me, and then I'm using some guys from over there.
Who's playing in Jazz Funk Soul, the drum and bass? Or does it change up?
It varies. Usually it is either Mike White or Chad Wright on drums, and on bass it's been Cornelius Mims. And the interesting thing about Cornelius Mims, I've known Cornelius Mims since we were in elementary school.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's Patrice Cornelius, who's on her records. Wow, that was.
Yeah. And it's funny, the neighborhood I grew up in, there's a great violinist by the name of Mark Cargill, who first called violinist to Los Angeles. He grew up around the corner. And then Shuggy Otis, who wrote Strawberry Letter 22,
right.
23.
23. Yeah.
23. He grew up around the corner. So there, and then another violinist by the name of Ron Clark, and just a litany of people. Like I said, Patrice Rushen down the street. Actually, Etta James lived down the street.
Oh, wow.
So so it was kind of an interesting neighborhood in the middle of South Central Los Angeles.
Do you ever get back there, you and the crew, maybe doing some seminars for the young musicians?
I've done a lot. Yeah, actually quite a few. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So people can go to pauljacksonjr.net. And also let's talk about the app again, because I'm sure a lot of musicians are curious to know about that.
Well, what happened was people started asking me, hey, Paul, what were you thinking about when you did this guitar part? Or what was this guitar part? Or can you break down this guitar part? And like I said, the most requested was the aforementioned P.Y.T. by Michael Jackson. So I said, I need to do this where I can use a platform where I can teach the parts, write out the music, have practice tracks, and explain why I did what I did.
Right.
So we decided to do it. I partnered with a brother by the name of Keith O'Derrick. He's got a production company called Upfront Productions. Keith is another guy I grew up with. He's got 2 feature films on Prime Video. He's got a show called Music and Medicine that's like blowing up on YouTube. And so we partnered in doing this app on the Udemy, UDEMY platform, Paul Jackson Jr.'s This Is How I Did It. And so I go into detail on songs. These are the guitar parts. These are how they were played. These are the techniques that I used. Or, like in the case of Heartbreak Hotel, I break down a lot of different parts, including David Williams and Tito's and Mike Cimbelo's. I write the parts out so you can read the music. And then I give you practice tracks. And once you learn the parts, you can practice them yourself. So, it's kind of an in-depth, learning tool. And so, like I said, the first package is the Michael Jackson unit, and then there will be subsequent units coming next year.
Wow, that's a great project, and I mean, I've seen bits of it. You were teasing it; it's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
you've done it. Yeah. One question about Michael. This is off the wall. Did you ever record on Sundays with him? Because I heard he just danced on Sundays.
Well, usually I was in church on Sunday. I rarely recorded with anyone on Sunday. There was one exception. Funny story. Luther Vandross called me. He said, Paul, the only day I have the studio is Sunday. He said, I know you don't record on Sundays. I said, Luther, you and I are cool. I said, I'll tell you what, after church, I'll come and record. So I went to church that morning and packed up my stuff and went to, at the time, it was A&M Records. And he says, I got a present for you. And he broke out. He gave me a belt from Gianni Versace for coming in.
Wow.
Yeah, for coming in on Sunday. So that was pretty amazing.
You've any wish list that people you haven't worked with?
I'd like to be in the studio with Nile. I don't know. Let me think about that for a minute. Right now, nothing comes to mind in terms of a wish list. I mean, I've been, like I said, just unbelievably blessed to record with everyone from, like you said, from The Weeknd to Ella Fitzgerald and, some jazz greats like Stan Getz and obviously Patrice and Freddie Hubbard and recorded a record with Earth, Wind and Fire and a record with Maurice White. And so, but folks are always coming out every day. And so there's always new talent and I keep my ears open. So, off the top of my head, no, but check back with me in about a month.
Yeah.
I'll have a long list.
And those musicians out there, this guy is the man. I'm sure they all know you. So, but we're just blessed to be able to hear you on so many records besides your own. And got to thank you for that.
Oh, man. It was my pleasure and my honor.
Yeah. And John Paris, Earth, Wind and Fire, we got to send our prayers in his recovery. Yeah. He's been on our show a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, things just unfortunately, continue to happen. Like I said, we pray for folks and hold them up and pray the best for them, and that was a big surprise.
Yeah. So fortunately, let's wait before it happens, but we've heard some good news coming out of their camp a little by little, but we're still praying hard. Yeah. So PaulJacksonJr.net, and I got to thank you because and we can't have this gap of time. It's, COVID hit and we moved out of radio back into the home studio, which was it was a change. I mean, we'll wrap it up. Maybe how did you deal with the COVID, the 3 years or so not being out there doing your thing?
Well, COVID was really strange because I tell everybody that for all intents and purposes, we lost 2 years.
Yeah.
I remember that Jazz Funk Soul had about 20 concerts lined up, and they all went away in 1 week. There was a festival, actually a cruise we were supposed to do, and COVID was out and about, and I said, they haven't canceled the cruise yet. It seems like they should.
Right.
And so my wife said, well, we'll just go. So my wife and I, we get on a plane, fly to Florida. As soon as we land, I turn my phone on, and Eric Marienthal, who was the musical director for the cruise, says, okay, by now you've heard that the cruise is canceled. And it's like, no, we hadn't. So we had a big musicians party in the hotel that night, and everybody flew back home the next day. So it was a little rough. The funny thing is, at the time I was teaching at USC. Mm-hmm. And so to transition from, teaching in person to solely teaching online was kind of difficult. Not so much for private lessons, although because of latency with programs, I couldn't play live with the students, but we were actually also teaching performance classes. And I remember the summer before we were to start, Patrice and I were on the phone every single day, trying out every piece of software we could find so we could effectually continue to educate the students. And so COVID was challenging, not so much from home recording because, but, being isolated, not seeing folks. I remember I would, once a day, I would open the garage door and just go out in the street and wave at people driving by and, smell the air and, look at the flowers, look at the trees. And like I said, hopefully see somebody, walking by or running by. And then I go back in the house. And so that was the sum total of my interaction with people,
unforgettable time.
Yeah. So that was kind of rough, but praise God, we're through it. We pressed forward.
Our mutual buddy, Paul Peterson, was actually the last person I ever interviewed 2020 on terrestrial radio. He was the last guest.
Yeah.
He was coming into New York to do a gig with Carl Burnett and his Jay Corcoran, and he went in and did the gig, and then he got out, and everything, like you said, closed down.
Yeah.
So hopefully we don't have to revisit that, and a lot of people we lost, keeping them in our memories. Yeah. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So Paul, thank you so much coming by Musicians Reveal, and you got to come back. I'm sure you're working on that. You said a new record yourself.
Some new music coming out. So absolutely.
And PaulJacksonJr.net, and it's really cool if you're a music lover. This back scene, just put this man in the Google search, and you can go crazy all the way. Oh, I didn't know he was on that. I didn't know he was on that. Maybe you forgot you were on it, right?
I've forgotten a few. So
right. Thanks, brother. I really appreciate it, Paul.
Hey, Joe, it is my pleasure, man. Lord bless you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care.